Let's just be honest. We are good. Nothing can stop us. Even the night that falls all around us.
NBL Nation, what is up? It's your boy Coach Ty back with Coach Ty's Corner, episode number 8. And today, after talking to Mark Gates, one of our owners, we're going to kind of go back to a format that we used last year for the NBL radio shows. And basically, I've made the number public. Everyone has the option to call in and wants to call in. What I'm going to do is start the show off. I'm going to set up a few topics, and as we get callers, if we get callers, which I know at least Mark Gates is calling in, we'll go ahead and bring them onto the show, and we'll take it from there. Now, we're going to start out the show, how we end the show with Ty's Top 5. We're going to go over the top 5 teams in NBL League One. I'm starting out with number 5. The Baltimore Ravens, they take a little bit of a fall in Ty's Top 5. Unfortunately, they were dealt another sim loss, which I feel bad for the Ravens because technically I think he's lost only one game to San Diego. He's had 2 sim losses, but this isn't a league of ifs, woulda, coulda, shoulda. The fact of the matter is the Ravens are now 10-3 due to 2 sim losses. I have to take that into consideration. So they dropped to number 5, even though we all know they've only actually lost once, and they're a pretty solid team top to bottom. Ray Rice runs the ball pretty effectively. Flacco delivers the ball pretty effectively to that stable receivers. And Ravens D is a top group in our league. They're at number 5. Number 4, the Jacksonville Jaguars, up from number 5. Coach UGA at 11-3. Very, very, very potent and high-powered offense. Defense is okay too, but I definitely got to say that the bread and butter for that team is that offense. And if you want to beat Jacksonville, you were going to have to either put up a ton of points or slow them down some type of way. Number 3, the New York Giants at 12-2. New York Giants, not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago, suffered a loss to Green Bay, which is why they're in at the 3 hole at 12-2. Still playing great ball. 2 losses on the entire season. Really balanced. Defense is very opportunistic. A ton of takeaways. Kenny Phillips is currently challenging for the interception title. On offense, Eli is amongst the league leaders in offensive stats. Cruz and Nix are both Pro Bowl caliber wide receivers and have played like that, as you can tell by the Pro Bowl voting. Solid team overall. Number 2, San Diego Chargers at 12-2. San Diego, solid team. They may not have the big name caliber quality players that, you would think. Phillip Rivers is gone, Tannehill is in, etc., but you wouldn't know it. The Chargers are definitely the team to beat in either conference. Very solid. The coach Fogra is very cerebral with the game, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, plays pretty good D, so you're not going to put a ton of points up on him. And while he may not drop a 70 spot on you, he's very efficient with the ball, doesn't turn it over. Number 1 team in the land at number 1, the Chicago Bears. Coach Candy. Seems like every time we get to this point in the season, he's pretty much right around 1 or 2 in the power rankings. Doesn't do any one thing tremendously well, but he's a jack of all trades. His game is solid all the way around, from special teams to defense. He's not totally going to shut you down defensively, but you are not going to put together continued sustained drives on him. You are not going to be able to put up a lot of points with him. He will take the ball away from you. On offense, kind of vanilla, runs a nice balanced offense. He's not too pass heavy. He's not too run heavy. He'll mix it up. Likes his mobile quarterbacks. He will utilize Vic from time to time to keep you honest. And he's just very hard to stop because he's very balanced. Only 1 loss on the season, and that was early in the season. So, again, top 5. 5 Baltimore Ravens, 4 the Jacksonville Jaguars, 3 the New York Giants, 2 the San Diego Chargers, and number 1 the Chicago Bears. Now, I'm going to do Ty's MVP race, my top 5 in the MVP race, and then I'll turn it over to the callers. And I wanted to do these topics so that they could stir up some conversation amongst the callers. In number 5, I have basically a pick'em. There's about 4 or 5 players, probably even more, in the league that are right on the cusp of really breaking out. Amongst those, Brian Urlacher, Eli Manning, Vontae Davis, and Kenny Phillips. Now, I kind of lumped those guys in. Their stats are damn good. They aren't record-breaking. They aren't mind-blowing, but they're definitely solid contributors and reasons why their teams are successful. These are guys in that 5-hole that could move up the race in the next few weeks. In number 4, I know I'm going to be speaking of Mark Gates, so this is going to be a good one. Cam Newton has cracked Ty's MVP countdown. And I'm going to explain to Mark when I explain who's number 1 on my countdown why. Cam Newton's the guy that has been under the radar. Mark Gates brought this to my attention. It's true. You know, a lot of the credit and attention has been going to some of the guys breaking records, like Vincent Jackson, like Jamal Charles, like Ben Roethlisberger. But quiet as kept, the Carolina Panthers are a playoff caliber team. I believe they're 9-4. Cam Newton's touchdowns to interception ratio is as good as there is in the league. He's got about 4,700 yards passing, and definitely a prime reason why the Panthers are poised. So Cam Newton has not been a part of this countdown, and he rightfully should. And after looking at the countdown and reevaluating it, Cam Newton comes in at my number 4 spot. Number 3, Vincent Jackson. Vincent Jackson dropped from 2 to 3. Vincent Jackson's a beast. Anybody who watches NFL football on Sundays can see that. Anybody who plays the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NBL can see that. 104 receptions, close to 2,300 yards. The Bucs finally have a winning record. I'm not necessarily going to say winning, but it's no longer a losing record. It's 7-7. And V. Jackson's a big reason why. That offense stops, starts, and goes with Vincent Jackson. Not only that offense, but the entire team. He's on a record-setting pace, receiver-wise, and what he's done is so outstanding, it can't be denied. Number 2, Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles jumped from 3 to 2. 2,500 yards rushing, 31 touchdowns as opposed to Vincent Jackson's 23. So not only are Jamal Charles' rushing numbers as impressive as Vincent Jackson's receiving numbers, but he's actually got more touchdowns, which affects his team's bottom line. You could have 4,000 yards receiving. If you're not getting in the end zone, I mean, you're moving the ball, but is it actually affecting the bottom line? Now, Vincent Jackson is getting in the end zone, but 31 touchdowns, 2,500 yards, the NBA's leading rusher. Kansas City is, I believe, 7-7 as well, in the thick of a playoff spot, and that's largely due to Jamal Charles. Now, number 1 on the Ty's countdown, once again, is Ben Roethlisberger. So before I have this conversation with Mark Gates, let me explain to you why Ben Roethlisberger is number 1. The first thing that Mark's going to tell me or somebody else is that, hey, he's got 60 touchdowns, but he's got 45 picks. True indeed, but most valuable player is not necessarily about the numbers. The Pittsburgh Steelers have the number 1 offense in the entire league. That is largely attributed to Roethlisberger. The most valuable player should make people around him better. Because of Ben Roethlisberger, Kenny Britt is the number 2 receiver in the NBL, and arguably could be the number 1 receiver if UGA did not take and drop him on the depth chart to avoid him getting injured. So in theory, because of Roethlisberger, who, by the way, is on pace to throw for 6,000 yards easily. Okay, he's at like 5,700 yards now with 2 or 3 games to go. If you actually do the math, he's on pace to throw for 6,500 yards. To put that in perspective, Drew Brees broke the NFL record last year in the NFL with 5,100 yards. So Roethlisberger is on pace to throw for 1,400 more yards than the NFL record. Okay? They have the number 1 offense in the entire league. They have the number 2 rated wide receiver in the entire league. These things can all be attributed back to Roethlisberger. So while he may have a high amount of interceptions, he is also the single reason why Pittsburgh's numbers all across the board that I mentioned are as impressive as they are. He has made people around him better. When I look at Cam Newton, I don't see any Carolina Panthers in the top 5 receivers. I don't see the top offense in the league. That's not a knock to Cam, but the most valuable players shouldn't all be predicated upon the numbers. It needs to be predicated upon the impact. The Carolina Panthers are not a top 5 team in the power ranking. The Pittsburgh Steelers are. Again, these things go back to Ben Roethlisberger, who still continues to be number 1 on Ty's MVP poll. Doesn't mean he's going to end the season that way. It just means right now, that's where I'm placing my vote. So at this time, Reggie, do we have any callers?
We have a caller.
Okay, who do we have?
I think we have Mark.
Okay.
Yeah, hello? Hello?
Are you there, Mark Gates?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I hear you, sir. Welcome to Coach Pi's Corner. How are you today?
I'm good. And yourself?
I'm good, brother. You know, I'm all right.
Yeah, it's funny. First, thank you for putting Cam up there. I know I'm new to NBL. I've definitely been under the radar. Do I honestly think I'm MVP? No. I mean, obviously not. I mean, but I do want to be in the top 5. I think I earned that. Ben Roethlisberger is putting up great numbers. My vote personally is Jamal Charles for MVP. I played the dude, and without Jamal Charles, he would not do anything. Like, I mean, he runs, he catches, he does everything. Almost even sell tickets for Kansas City. It's crazy how he uses Jamal Charles. So the only thing with me with Ben Roethlisberger, one game he did throw 9 touchdowns against the computer. So it's like, okay, I mean, that's good. It's a computer. And he has like 50 interceptions to 60 touchdowns. So that's my only piece.
Agreed, but now let's get back to Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles is quote-unquote the MVP in your mind, but he's led his team to a 7-7 record. Ben Roethlisberger has led his team to an 11-3 record. Jamal Charles is the MVP in your mind, but the offense overall of Kansas City Chiefs is nowhere near the top of the league in Pittsburgh is. At the end of the day, like I said, I get what you're saying, but if you took Roethlisberger off that team, I don't think Pittsburgh's rushed for 1,000 yards this season. There's no Kenny Britt at the top of the receivers board, who probably could have been number 1. The Steelers are not the number 1 offense. The Steelers are not 11-3. Kansas City's fighting for a playoff spot. Jacksonville is probably the number 1 seed. Number 2 seed.
Yeah, so but I mean, even without Ben, I mean, with the number 1 receiver they had, they still have potential to make it. Versus you take Jamal Charles off that team, he has no other option. I played him; he had no other options but Jamal Charles. I took every other option away. That was his only option.
True, but that's his doing. That's Coach Jim A's scheme. You said this earlier in the chat box this week, and I agree with you. Why in the world would you trade Dwayne Bowe? He chooses to play that way. So if you strip your team down to where that has to be your one and only, that's on you. If you, in the beginning of the season, you wasn't here yet. If you would have seen the team that Coach Trevor inherited, the Jacksonville, you would have laughed. He was the 32nd pick in the draft, the very last team, and basically that guy wheeled and dealed his way to a championship. Not a championship, because he hasn't won nothing yet. He's wheeled and dealed his way to a productive season. That guy had a worse team than Kansas City. Kansas City, Coach Jermaine picked number, in the early 20s. Coach Trevor, on the other hand, got the last team that was left that nobody wanted. And I'm pretty sure if you look at Jacksonville's stock roster, what they had compared to now, they're reaping the rewards of what they sown. Coach Jermaine chose to trade Dwayne Bowe.
I agree. I mean, the numbers he put up are, like you said, last show was like ungodly. Like, it's crazy for a person to put up 6,000 yards passing, especially with like 32 owners in the league. So I'm not to take anything away from Big Ben. Just some couple things. You know what I'm saying? Just a couple things. The turnover ratio, the touchdown ratio, the completion ratio. Those are just my things. Not to take anything away from him. He is in the top 5. I mean, he's guaranteed playoffs. We'll see, when he plays the other top 5 teams in the league, how well he does in the playoffs.
You know what, and I agree with you 100%. And you're right. I did look at the negatives. But I would look at it the same way. Say Jamal Charles ran for 3,000 yards this season. But say he had 40 fumbles. While you don't want nobody to turn the ball over 40 times, can I take away the fact that the man ran for 3,000 yards? Now, You're right. You look at my category, me personally, I'm number 2 in the league in passing. I'm the number 2 offense in the league. But if you notice, I don't have Stafford nowhere near that MVP race. And the reason why is like Roethlisberger, I've thrown way too many interceptions. The difference with Stafford and Roethlisberger is my team has a losing record. And there's nowhere in the world I'm going to justify, I don't care what the numbers say, I'm going to justify placing my guy there when he's partially the reason why I have a losing record due to all the turnovers. Conversely, Roethlisberger's been able to take that to another level and get his team to perform at a playoff-type caliber level. So I do factor in the fact that those numbers are off, which is why Stafford isn't there. But Roethlisberger's positives so outweigh them negatives that I have to give it to him at this point.
Yeah, and I'm strong number 2 on the PlayStation. If you look me up, I'm a strong number 2.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there.
You are? Because I looked at that.
Yeah. You look at the numbers, I'm 70% completion, over 4,500 yards. Just 2 interceptions. I was under 20 interceptions. I just threw 3. Shout out to the Chargers. They beat me in a good one. You know.
Yeah. So now
we
we show, instead of making this Coach Todd's corner where I sit there and I rant and rave, I'm known for dropping, on-the-spot interviews on people. So who better to start with than you? I got you on the show.
Not a problem. I've been under the radar. Philly and Canada been trying to get me on the show for a couple of weeks now because I'm a good player. So
now that I got you, we gonna have some Q&A. So what drew you to MDL in the first place? How did you come aboard?
I was just actually on Madden tips, surfing around, stumbled upon that website, and just happened to jump in the forum, and then I seen somebody post a recruiting paragraph asking, any good players come on join the league. So I sent the email. They emailed me back. I found the website and fell in love with it.
Now, you have mentioned that, and you've mentioned that to me individually, that you have fallen in love with the league and with the site. Why is that? I mean, anytime anybody goes online, we can clearly see that there's a good 200,000 leagues online. What makes this one league that special in your mind?
I never seen it synced up from the game to the website to EA Sports. I never seen anything synced up, and then everybody's so involved with it. Versus with the chat and people were like trading, texting me, trying to get trades when I first jumped on and things like that. I just never been involved in anything like that,
I definitely makes for some good times. I think that's why we're all attracted to it, because it's so interactive. You literally feel like a coach or a GM. Not to sound corny, but I mean, that's how interactive it is.
Yeah, I mean, I could be at school or in class, or I'm, at home with my girl, and it's like I'm thinking about what deals I'm going to make. People hitting me up, and I'm like, ooh, should I trade it to him? Should I not trade it to him? It felt like a little league, like a little NFL. So that's what made me jump on it and just stay involved with it.
So, how long have you been playing Madden?
Since like the very first one, like 89, 90, and then from there, like 93 was like my, the one I fell in love with and just never looked back.
All right, so you got about 15 years deep in the game. So what advice you give to newer ballers playing the game who are looking to improve their game at this point in time? What advice do you feel you could offer or give them that they could see help them with their gameplay?
My thing is just stay with your game plan. Like, develop one, whatever it is, regardless of the score. No matter how many touchdowns you're down, 2 or 3, you can always come back and you just stay with your game plan. Don't panic. And take away your opponent's options. They'll show it in the first 2 quarters. They'll show everything they're doing. Second half, just make adjustments. Take away different pieces of the field, different players. Scout them. Look who they're throwing it to every game. Everybody has tendencies. So let's say Tampa Bay Spud, I scout a Spud. He throws every pass to Vincent Jackson. So when we play, everything I do is controlled to Vincent Jackson. Beat me with somebody else. Same thing with every opponent. I just look and see who you throw it to, who you use the most, and then I key on that person. And then from there, hit me with your other option.
What would you say is the best gameplay experience you've had in the league so far, game-wise?
I had 2 tough games, one with the Chargers, one with Candyman, and then that one with the Chiefs, with my toughest. The Chiefs had me 31-7 at halftime, and I came back and won 42-38. And that was just me just staying with my game plan, not, calming myself down, playing balanced offense, and just taking whatever the defense gives me. If he runs cover 2, then I'll either dump off screens or I'm going to, hit you with deep streaks down the seams. Or if you play cover 3, I know corner routes, cover 3, possibly draw because you didn't like some type of dime or some type of quarter. I mean, just take what the defense gives you. That's, just look, see what they have, and take what they give you. And you have to run the ball, man. Everybody's dropping back. Run the ball.
That's a good point you just brought up right there. Now, I'm going to pretend I'm new to the game, and I'm going to ask you this. If there's no tell if a defense is in man zone before the game, before the snap of the ball, how am I to know if the defense is in a cover 2 or cover 3 to decide what the defense is giving me?
What I do is I set up, figure if we go, let's say gun, and you have 4 receivers, 3 receivers and a tight end. I put 2 in man beaters and 2 in zone beaters. And then I just check my read. In my mind, I already know when I take that initial play, my first read is, I hike it, look, he's not there. I already know by that time, whether it's man or zone, and my other 2 or 3 reads, one of them be open. So I try to just cover and take, in perspective, if you have to blitz me, if it's zone. And I try to take a route that can beat every possible coverage. Worst case scenario, I'll check it down to the running back or run a draw.
Now, recently, it seems to have been a little bit of, speaking of Candy, man, it seems to have been a little bit of back and forth between Coach Gates and Coach Candy. You can't elaborate on how this give and take started and what you hope or predict the end game to be for this give and take?
When I came into the league 6 weeks, I was 4-2. My first game was Candy. Everybody like, yeah, Candy won the Super Bowl. He was a great player. So we played defense a couple times. It happened. We played again and I lost. I was just upset with myself because I shouldn't have lost that game. And, the boy is good. I can't take it away from him. Candy's good. But I thought, since that loss, I'll see him in the playoffs. And then every week, no matter who I play, win or lose, I'm going to see you in the playoffs. And he's like, nah, you're not going to get that far. Things like that. So it's funny, but, I'm going to see him in the playoffs. I promise you that. I promise you I see him in the playoffs.
So what do you think, if you were to see him in the playoffs, what do you think you're going to do?
I'm winning that game.
Okay. What are you going to do differently to ensure that outcome?
I would say it, but I don't know if the boy listening. He might switch his whole thing up. But
okay, okay, I'm gonna help you out with that. And I'm not gonna speak for you, but I played Candy in the Super Bowl and lost to him. Candy's in my division. It seems like anytime there's a big game in any league, it's always me and him. And I'll come out on the short end of those. Now I know why. See, now this goes back to something I talked about last week with adjustments. It's one thing to lose and not have a clue or an idea as to why you lost, and it's another thing to know why you lost so that when you go forward and address that, you can be successful. Now, for me personally, myself, if I was playing Candy, which I'm going to play him a zillion more times in both leagues, it's real simple for me. Candy's an opportunistic person. He's not going to make any mistakes, and he's going to force you into making mistakes. So to me, it comes down to imposing your will. If I can play more patient against him and not force things and not start out, because typically whenever me and him play, if we were streaming the game, you would think he was going to blow me out. Because he always jumps out to a big lead on me. And in the second half, I adjust, and I always come back. The problem is I always fall short by 3, 7 points, etc., because I put myself in too big a hole. And it's because in the beginning of the game, I was trying to force the tempo on him. And the way he plays is very conservative, and it's very opportunistic. He's not going to blitz you a ton of times. He's not going to bring the house. He's going to sit back in his zones. He's going to lurk. He's going to hawk, and he's going to wait for you to make a bad read. And when you do, on offense, you can count on the fact that he's not going to turn the ball over. To where even if he doesn't score on you, he's going to take enough time off the clock to where your possessions are now at a minimum. So it's a vicious cycle because now when you get the ball back, you're pressing because you've got to make up ground. So the fact that you're pressing leads you into another turnover, and it's a vicious cycle. So to me, at least for me, I can't speak for you in your game. When I play him, the key is being patient. The key is taking what he gives, exactly what you said earlier, and it's just playing a slower, methodical game instead of a faster, helter-skelter game.
Right. Yeah, Vic just got comfortable. I just allowed Vic to get comfortable. And, if you sit back and you play nice coverage all day and, you just wait for plays to just break down, somebody eventually get open. You can't cover everybody 10 seconds, so. Those just little things. I did forcing passes in the coverages that I knew was wrong. And like you said, trying to impose my will anyway, testing his user stick skills. just threw like 2 turnovers. So it wasn't like a blowout or anything like that. Just two bad reads, 3 bad reads, and just caused me the game. That was my fault. I mean, not to take anything away from him. He's a good player. So, and I look forward to seeing him again. Same with the guy at the Chargers. I told him I see him in the Super Bowl. Like, yo, after he beat me, I was like, good game, bro. I'll see you in the Super Bowl. He's like, I gotta get past Kansas, so don't worry about that. I'll see you in the Super Bowl. And we both just laughed.
Hey, you know what's so funny? It's funny you said that because a lot of times that's how I feel. Exactly what you said. My thing is, I don't take credit away from another player because they forced me into doing things I didn't want to do. But I also look at the things I do. I can't control what defense he plays. I can't control what defense you play if I play you. I can control my reads and what I do. And when I do things that put me in bad situations, I look at if I can eliminate those things, it should be a good to go thing. Me and you had a private conversation on the phone, and we talked about this. There's a thin line this year, more so than any other year. But any other year, there was a wide chasm between good players and great players, between average players and good players. And this year, that line is so fine that it all comes down to execution and scheme and basically pressure and nerves. Whoever can withstand the pressure and nerves, whoever can execute the best is going to win, even if you're playing somebody you deem to be better than you. So this year it's more important, in my opinion, to execute flawlessly and stick to your game plan, which was great advice that you gave earlier.
Right. And practice, you gotta lab it. You gotta lab everything. What I try to do is have a scheme out of every formation in the playbook that I choose. So regardless of what I come out and I know I can audible into something. I use my quick audibles, every audible in there, I can run a little scheme off of it. So, I try not to just come out in one base formation every down and then go from there. I just open up my playbook. All them plays, different formations, you got to use them for something.
See, and I agree with you.
Worst case scenario, run the ball.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, just always run it. Just run it. You have to keep your defensive player honest. If you're going to pass 90% of the time, I'm going to just stay back and pass. I'm a pass commit. Just pass commit, run around, ball hawk.
Well, and it's good you mentioned that because, again, that was part of a private conversation we had because typically smarter players, like you said, are going to sit there and run vanilla defenses in the first and second quarters. They're going to let you go through all your money plays because most people realistically, honestly, got 5 to 7 plays in the entire book, and that's just keeping it real. Then what people say, they got scheme and they got 2 or 3 other plays from other formations. So when you couple that together, especially if you can play a bend but don't break defense, you're going to see those 5 to 7 plays in the first quarter. And that's why I like you, and that's a tip that I would give you in Coach Ty's corner. The more plays you have, the better. You don't have to use all your plays, but you need to have something in your back pocket to where when you get in that crucial situation late in the third and fourth quarter and you need to move the ball, you can come out with something totally brand new. I, like you, lab every formation in my book, and I can run pretty much any formation out of my book. So I might come out in certain base plays and start out that way to test you and see how you're going to respond and react to it. If you can stop what I'm doing, then I'm going to move on to different formations. If you can't, I'm going to stay in that until you show me you can, and then I still got 9 other formations in back of that. So definitely think that's a good tip you just gave.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Just trying to make anybody good. And I always try to give out tips and things like that. Try to get my game better as well.
So I got you. Do you play in any other leagues besides NBL 1 and 2?
Nah. Nope. I'm fully committed to both these leagues. I'm good. I'm good where I'm at.
Any tournament experience?
Nah. Other than local things like that, but never EA Sports tournaments or anything like that.
No, but you know what? Even participating in local tournaments, so you went down to some of your local tournaments. How'd that experience work out for you?
Oh, it was fine. I mean, it wasn't too bad. I always make it around the finals, somewhere in the top 10. So, and that's just me making, forcing my will, making bad mistakes at the end. Stuff, my fault. Gotta see it's cover 2 sink, and I know how they play, and I just still throw it in there anyway, just to see if I can beat that person using it skills wise. That's all.
No, I trust me. I understand. I've thrown more picks that way than anybody else. And you know what? That was actually a tip I was going to give too. I'll get into it a little bit, but since I actually have a call on, I'm not going to really break that down. I've been preaching that you've got to lab this year and you've got to practice, and practice makes perfect. But I'll tell you something. There's another side to that. And sometimes, have you ever practiced or labbed something too much that it worked against you? Here's a perfect example. I could lab one play and make a play 99% of the time on one route. Well, now, since I'm so used in practice mode to forcing my will to getting that play in there and making that play no matter what, when in doubt, I go to that play only to have somebody jump it or something bad happen, because in my mind, I'm thinking I can muscle this play in there because I've done it so many times.
Right. I don't consider a play working for me until after I lapped it in practice, then I beat the computer with it, and then I beat somebody online with it. If it doesn't go through all three of them steps, then I don't consider it really working right. There'll be a time like I do it in practice, practice mode. You can beat the computer all day. Then I go into a game mode with the computer. I'm like, okay, it works with them. And then I go play an unranked game or ranked game or whatever, usually unranked, and then play some random guy, and then I use it on him. And if it beats him 2 or 3 times, I'm like, yeah, this play works.
See, and I have that same process. But the problem is, to me, Madden is like boxing. And I always say this about boxing. I don't know if you're a boxing fan. I'm a big boxing fan. And I always say styles make matchups. Because there's certain times in a boxing match where you look at somebody and on paper, it's an obvious mismatch. But when they get in the ring, maybe this person's a southpaw and this person doesn't deal well with southpaws. So because he's a southpaw, he's bringing that style to the match, it's going to make an interesting fight. There's a lot of times in Madden, I think, and you played Madden for a long time, so you can probably vouch for this. There's people who I've lost to in Madden who I feel I'm way better than. But it's not that it didn't necessarily have something to do with the fact that I'm better than them. It had more to do with the fact that the way I play, I'm going to give you a perfect example. Candyman. Well, I'll even say Philly in Canada. Now, no, I'm not saying I'm better than them. The example I'm going to make here is the type of coverage D that they like to play. Somebody that likes to pass the ball, I play into what they do. So now at that point,
right,
It's not even about whether they're better than me or not. It's I'm perfect for them. Whereas somebody that's not playing that type of D, maybe a blitzer, I might carve him up. And it doesn't mean I'm better than that person. It just means that the matchup of what we both like to do, my strength is their weakness and vice versa. So when you play somebody, that's when you really have to play excessively smart football.
It's like chess, man. It's like chess. It's like a chess match almost, like a little mini chess match. And then I think, to determine how a good of a player is, like I'll call a route. Let's just say I'll just call an out route, like a simple 5 and out. And I know it's man coverage, and I go it, and I throw it anyway, force it. I just throw it to see if that person can catch, click to the person, user, and pick it off fast enough. And that determines, and with me, it's like, okay, I could determine his user skills or who we like to pick when I hike the ball. Is he a defensive lineman? If he's a linebacker, he's a safety. If he's a safety most of the time, then I know that person has a lot of good, is good to average user skills because they have to cover more field versus a lineman or a linebacker, where they just want to roam around, and cover the flat. So it just really depends. It really depends. You just got to, it really depends. It's hard to say. I just test people all the time. And like you say, just take jazz, and then I come out to that money play and then test it again to see if it works.
It's funny you mention that because I had a conversation with that about determining who someone's user and how that factors in. The one thing that you said that I kind of laughed at is I actually like to use a linebacker. I can use a safety with no problem, but based off what you said, if you played me, you'd be very surprised because I don't use any linebacker. I'm normally using linebackers with 86, 87 speed, and I'm covering everything from the run to with my manual user covering the deep part of the field because that guy's got 86, 87 speed and I can get back there. You can ask Reggie how many times he threw a bomb only to see Keith Rivers because I'm a Giant fan, so I use him 40 yards downfield making an interception. So I think that has a lot more to do with who you're comfortable using and what you're trying to take away.
Yeah, possibly, but it depends. Can he stick? The team I use the offline a lot is the Falcons. Can he stick a Julio Jones in the slot? I doubt it. I want to test you. We can play it online. I doubt it. I would kill it every time. It's just a mismatch. It's an exploit on this game a lot of times where, especially like a 3 wide receiver, like a snubs or like a 3. I put 3 wide receiver package. You tell me that guy can stick with a 90-something speed receiver? I'm willing to take that chance every time.
But you hit that 100%. But I also feel. Well, see, it depends. It depends on how you play your user. It depends on what you're trying to take away. Because I also feel I'm able to shut more things down with a linebacker than a safety. Yeah, you can go ahead and drop a safety down in the box and use him and say, well, I can do X, Y, Z the same way you can with that linebacker. But dropping him down in the box, you're facing the same mismatch I'm facing with the linebacker. I don't care what safety you have.
Right.
So me,
Right,
I
and
think
that's
what you're trying to take away.
Yeah, and that's what I said. It's like you have to. I mean, depending on who you use, you have to. You have to know your responsibility on that play.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
are you gonna be able to cover that field and things like that? So it's just like a lot of it is just a good chess match. I try to take away options, or I just, I'm willing to test you as you use it. I just like doing that. I see you running with the linebacker. Oh, okay, there goes Todd. Let me see if he can stick that tight end over there on this route. And if you make a good play, I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna stay away from you. Every time I see that circle, I'm like, let me stay away from him.
You know what? I'm with you to agree on that. It's good we're talking. I don't know if anybody else is on the phone, but I'm just going to keep this conversation going with you because I don't know if anybody else is going. But it's funny because it's just good talking strategy with somebody who plays the game a lot like I do. Because, I actually preach the other thing. I do think there's times you got to go with somebody's user to see what they got. But for me, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that your user is decent to good out the gate. Now, obviously, there's going to be a point in time where I'm going to go at him, but I'm not looking to go at him just to see what kind of user he's got, especially with ball hawk this year. It's way too easy. I mean, I don't care how nice you are passing-wise, you probably still want to throw at least 2 picks a game. I mean, the last game I played in NBL League One, I played a great game against OSU, and I was in control of every facet of that game. And the 2 picks he got on Stafford were pitched that were just incredible. It didn't have nothing to do with a bad read. So that stuff's going to happen. So the last thing I'm looking to do is go with somebody's user to see what they got.
Right.
That's the time
Right,
comes
but, I mean, it depends. Sometimes people use the people as a decoy. Like, have you ever played a guy and let's say a slide and he goes to like that post to the out corner route. You'll see the linebacker standing there, and he's just really just standing there to divert you from making that throw. So I'll throw it to see like, are you playing that man, or are you just standing there to make me not think that you're gonna you don't want me to throw it over there, so I'll throw it.
Yeah. You and me both, brother. That's why I lose games. Because I'm a gunslinger. And when I say gunslinger, I don't necessarily mean chuck the rock every time. It just means I have a gambler's mentality. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and me and you talked about this earlier today. The game I had against Philly in League 2. There are times where I play super duper smart football, and that's normally me. Then there are other times where I'm just gonna, whatever. Guts, no glory. You know what I'm saying? Every once in a while, you gotta let it rip, and you gotta see, what happens.
Right. Yeah. And like another key is like, if you're up, man, never take the foot off the gas. Do not get comfortable.
Yes, sir.
Do not. If you're up by 14, play like you're down 14. Do not give up. Like, do not be like, oh, I'm up 2 leads. And you start playing conservative and things like that. Because once that first interception, if something ever comes, it seems like the whole game momentum switches, and nothing else works.
Let me ask you this, because I'm a firm believer in it. Do you believe that there's momentum in the game?
It seems like it. I mean, it seems like it. Like I said, I'm usually down. Honestly, I'm usually down by halftime every game. And I fight my way back and I win it. You know what I mean? So it has to be. It has to be. I mean, there's times where my receivers can't catch a pass at all. And then versus, when it's game time on the line, then yeah. And then, and speaking of that, if you look at your quarterback and you go to use your XP point, look at their clutch. If you can get clutch, you should get that, because in the last 2 minutes, your pass blocking increases, your quarterback's accuracy increases, and I think the receivers increases too in the last 2 minutes of the game. So that's a gem as well.
So you just brought up a great topic, my man, that me and you both can maybe help some guys out and give some great tips. Because Connected Careers Mode is new to shit to everybody. Let me ask you this. Your personal preferences, and I'm going to give you mine. On the defensive side of the ball, how do you like to spend your Connected Career points? Because I think there's probably a lot of cats that are not spending these points the right way, which not to say my way is the right way, but what do you think is a good way to spend your points on the defensive side of the ball for Connected Careers?
It depends on like the position. Let's say corners. A lot of times the awareness is good. I try to build up the smaller things, like the speed and things like that. I mean, it costs too much, so I try to. If a person is like, let's say my third cornerback is like 80 in man, or whatever, like almost a 90. I'll give him the 90 in man, and I'll never pick even if I pick a zone, I'll keep him in the man the whole game, because I'm not going to play him in the zone if his zone is 70. Like, I play to my team's strength. I use the Falcons as an example. When I played Philly in Canada, we played offline, and he kept throwing it to Ashanti Samuel. And he's like, that's man coverage. And I'm like, it looks like man, but Ashanti's in his zone the whole game because his zone is 96. Like, I just play to the strength of, whatever player I have, linebackers, hit power. A lot of times they're tackling. I don't have great receivers, so even with receivers, I just want you to catch the ball. So I focus on catching traffic and catching the ball. That speed and things like that, it costs too much.
No, that's good stuff because you're right. Defensively, the way I like to spin mine, and again, just because I say it this way, it doesn't make it so. It just means it's what's important to me. D-lineman, automatically, I'm spending everything I got on block shed. If you want a D-line, I don't care about nothing else. I'm increasing your block shed. Because a lot of times, like my Giants in real life, they ain't even sending a blitz. But if I've got Jason Pierre-Paul, who's already got 87 block shed, and through the course of the season, I can get him up to 92 and 93, he's probably going to give me 5 to 6 more sacks in that season, whether I'm blitzing him or not. So
definitely. Block shed is key.
Right. On D-linemen, I'm spending all my points to a block shed. My linebackers, I'm spending all of their points on hit power. I'm trying to create some fumbles. At the end of the day, I might use a lot of them linebackers anyway. So I don't really necessarily care if Keith Rivers' man coverage is, let's say, 74, 75. I'm working on getting his hit power up because I'm probably going to use him anyway. So in addition to ball hawking, if I can get 1 or 2 fumbles, look at anybody that plays the 49ers online. The first thing you know out the gate is, them boys are hitting. You better keep your hand on them all game. So for my linebackers, I'm spending points on them hit power. And for my corners, you're right, it's tricky because it's based off what the corner's attributes are. I like to spend points on man, and I really like to spend points on play recognition.
That too, that's big. That's big. Play range, every player is big. Every player is big, especially on defense. Because, he's stupid. He ain't going to do nothing.
And you hit that right on the head. But especially with them corners and safeties, I need you to recognize somebody's going on the out route and be able to jump that.
Mm-hmm. Or can he determine if it's a run or if it's a draw? Without that play recognition, a guy can have great stats, but if his play recognition is like a 40, you can forget it.
Exactly. You hit that right on the head.
Him all game. Unless you're going to use him all game, he's retarded out there.
Pretty much. That's why it's funny. On my Lions, I got this one project kid called Chris Greenwood, 6'2" corner, 97 speed. Right? That's a guy I'm always looking to get in the game. The problem is my man's awareness is like 40. So while he has that great speed, I want to be able to neutralize somebody going over the top of my head, like you said. Unless I'm using him, I got to understand that anything underneath him, anything in the street, he's going to have a problem. There's going to be situation somewhere.
Yeah, it's really big. Yeah, unless he's in the street, unless he can use his speed, it's a problem.
Exactly. Now, on offense, the way I like to kind of spin my points, and then you can give me your take. My offensive line, obviously it depends on the scheme. If you're run heavy, to me, you're going to want to make sure your guys' run block is up to par. If you're pass heavy, you want to increase that pass blocking. But another thing that I think people don't realize how important it is in this game is spending points on impact blocking. And for people that don't know what impact blocking is, it's the point where your man on the offensive line engages that defender. If their impact blocking is low, most likely when they engage on that block, they're going to get shrugged off. If their impact block is high, they're able to hold them blocks for long periods of time, pancake defenders, etc. So I spend a lot of my points on impact blocking. For my receivers, definitely, like you said, I'm looking at 3 things. I'm looking at catching traffic, and I'm looking at route running. Because you can have the best catch and catching traffic, but if I'm throwing a timing route, say I'm throwing an out, and I'm planning on throwing the ball at a certain time, but you run a bad route, that might be an interception, or it's going to be an incomplete pass.
And route running, not to cut you off, route running affects the cornerback if he's looking back at the quarterback or not. If you notice, a guy with high route running, he looks at the receiver the whole time, versus a guy with low route running, he looks at the quarterback the whole time.
That's a great point. The listeners, that's a great point, my man. You go ahead and repeat that for the listeners one more time.
A guy with high route, like if you have a guy with high route running, the cornerback will pay attention to him the whole route, the whole time, versus a guy with low route running. He's looking at the quarterback. He's basically watching the quarterback's eyes, and he's just basically waiting you to throw the ball. He's just basically waiting to jump that route.
And that's why route run is important, folks. Obviously, for the quarterback, the big 3, short, medium, deep, depending on what your quarterback's attributes are. Obviously, you're gonna want to definitely look to address those first. At least that's the way I look at it.
Okay. all my points go to clutch first. I go to clutch first because in the last 2 minutes, that quarterback increases that clutch streak increases everybody on the offense. And that's a tip given from Doug Moore. You know what I mean? Doug Moore does the ratings in that. That's a tip from him.
Right. See, and you are 100% right. I guess I would look at it that way too, because I have Stafford and he's considered an upper echelon quarterback. But now if I had them Jake Locker, yeah, I'm definitely looking at clutch. Another thing, I don't care what side of the ball your guys are on. I'm going to tell you guys something right now, and it's something I always spend points on. You could have the best player in the world. If their injury or toughness is low, you definitely want to spend, and that's one of the cheapest attributes to spend points on, and it's something I spend a ton of points on. You know what? I could have Darren McFadden, and everybody knows how good McFadden is, but if his injury or toughness is 69, he's one hit away from being on the IR for 8 weeks. And them points generally are under 1,000. So if McFadden had a big game, he's got 11,000 points. You'd be surprised. If I spent all 11,000 points on toughness and he jumped up from a 69 to a 79, that's the difference between him being on the IR for 8 weeks or not. So never, ever, ever forget to check out your guys' toughness and injury ratings. And take your good players that have low toughness and injury and make sure that you boost that during the course of the season. That's why if you notice for me with the Lions, I only had one injury the whole year. And the Lions ain't exactly a quote-unquote tough team. Well, I make sure my guys are out on the field, and I spend those points.
Yeah, that's good. Deep ball accuracy is big for quarterbacks, too. A lot of quarterbacks, only like 5 quarterbacks that have over like a 70, or like an 80-something, 85 and over deep ball accuracy. That's huge. You need that.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, hold on 1 second. Hey, Reggie, do we have anybody else on as well? Reggie, you alive? Are you still drinking around your live stream?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Do we got anybody else? We got anybody else calling in or anything?
Nobody's calling in right now, but I think, what's his name? Philly is listening.
Okay. Well, Philly, if you listening, man, don't be shy, brother. Jump on in.
I think he's busy. He has a bunch of kids running around in the house.
Reggie, I know your vow to me was you will not talk on the show, man. You hear a lot of good strategy being told about Premium Gates, man. You got anything you want to add, brother, to help the listeners out?
Nah, man, I'm staying out of it, man.
Be greedy and pull your stuff to yourself, huh?
I'm just saying, man. I have nothing to say. I'm trying to stay under the radar, so
Okay,
well, by the way,
I got a question.
Hold on. By the way, I ain't too happy with Mark, man, because I was supposed to make a deal with him, and he kind of, he went with Spud instead. How could you do that? I gave you a better deal. How could you do that to me, man?
Nah, he gave me. I mean, he gave me a great deal. I mean, he offered that one other player, so I had to go with that. It worked out good though.
Yeah, but the offer that I gave you, you can't tell me it was not worth it.
Yeah, it was, but I had already gave him my word that we would like to trade, so I didn't want to back out of it.
Respect that, Gabe. Just so you know, and Reggie, I'm only hearing nothing from you because you're in the cut my trade with Kofi, and so let's not even hash over the sour grapes. But while I have you on, I ask you one question, Reggie. Why don't you let everybody know what you're currently working on with the live stream and what you're trying to do and stuff?
Oh, it's done already. It's a live stream, and basically all my games that all my league games I'm gonna be playing, I'm gonna stream it. And I was having a hard time today to set it up, and I finally got it. And Mark set it up on the site, and it's all done. The only thing I'm waiting for is my opponent, and I hate waiting for my opponent. And I sent him a text, and I got no response.
So what you're telling me is, from now on, whenever you play an NBA League game, we'll be able to jump on to the site and we'll be able to watch a live stream of the game. Is that the way you're going to work it, or no?
Yes, sir. So you guys, I give you a chance. You guys can scout me. You ain't gonna do anything. He can't stop me.
No, that's a good point. do you fear or worry about that? Because that would be a big worry of mine, but then again, it wouldn't because I render and edit my footage. But do you worry about the fact that you're giving somebody a blueprint to how to play you by streaming the game?
Yes and no, because you gotta adapt to what like my opinion is focusing on what I'm about to do, I could flip it and do something different. So I'm not really worried. It's like after I took that beating from Candy, I had to really step up my game, and that's what I've been doing. And I'm still learning a lot more. So I'm not really worried.
And I tell people all the time, a lot of people don't know, Reggie's a tough son of a gun on this game. Reggie ain't no joking. Reggie is somebody who I routinely lab with. It just continues to get better. Why he has a bad game from time to time? But when that guy's one of the best in the entire league. So definitely be good to check out that stream and kind of see what he's doing and where his head's at and how he's developing his stuff. Maybe give you guys some ideas in terms of developing concepts and schemes of your own based on what he's doing.
Well, by season 2, I'm coming out with an ebook, for $5.99, how to beat Candy.
Hey, Reggie, real quick, man, if I let you go. Hey, me and Gates we was having a conversation about users, and I was teasing him, and I said, hey, if you don't think I'm effective by using a linebacker, because I use my safety too. I usually don't go 50-50. It just depends on what I want to do. I said, ask Reggie how effective my linebackers and user are. How far I feel I get them dudes and where they're at.
I don't know what you're talking about. I beat you twice. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm sure you don't know what I'm talking about.
I really don't know what are you talking about, Ty? I whooped your ass this season.
Nothing. You know what? I felt that on my head. I don't know what I'm talking about, man. Nothing, man.
Nah, it's you know exactly what you do, that little zigzag bullshit, and then you pick me off, and that shit is annoying. Yeah, you know what you're doing, and I know it, but I'm not gonna talk about it.
You ain't gonna understand that zigzag bullshit.
Yeah,
you talked about that earlier. Basically, it's baiting. It's exactly what Mark was saying earlier, where you look like you're patrolling or playing one thing, but you're actually on something else. But you give the guys that play's open, and sure enough, people throw to it, and there's a problem. But all right, but if there's nobody else on, you know what? I'll chop it up with Mark a little bit more, and we'll probably look to wrap up.
All right.
If anybody jumps on or anything like that, man, feel free to interrupt us and let us know. We'll get them on as well.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna probably try to get a reach.
Hey, you on your laptop, Reggie, right now?
Yep.
Hey, why don't you go ahead and jump on, because I actually stepped aside. I'm in my yard. Why don't you jump on Madden Daddy real quick, man, to let people know that the show is on live, and let them know that if anybody wants to jump on, they can call in right now and get in.
Already done.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. All right, Rich, thanks for your contributions. I'll get back to Mr. Gates, and we'll chop it up a little bit more, and then we'll go about our merry ways. All right, so now back to Mark Gates. You've got to play quite a few people in the league, and you've got to hear. Basically, everybody has their own idea of who they think is good or not good. Is there anybody in the league yet that you haven't played that you would definitely like to play based off hearing, well, this and that about that person? What owners might you be looking forward to playing in the league, either in League 1 or League 2 that you haven't played yet, that you want to play to kind of see what they're working with?
Jacksonville Giants and the Ravens, this league right here. I'll probably either face the Cardinals or the 49ers in the playoffs, so I'm looking forward to one of those. In League 2, I like to play Chicago Tough. I know Spud has it out for me. I beat him once already. I beat him in both leagues, actually. I know he has it out for me. I'm willing to play anybody. I mean, I don't try to look at the record and think, oh, this guy's not good, because it's just like any given Sunday, so.
Yeah, 100%. That's what. Yeah, so who you wanted to play as opposed to based off record. That's why I said, like, for example, there's a nice little buzz building around you in Chicago Tough. These are two newest owners, and both of you guys are holding your own. So there's probably a lot of people out there that want a piece of you guys. So you're right. That's kind of how I was asking, like just based off rep or what you might have heard or who you want to size up with, who you felt like, hey, you know, I want to see what this person got.
Yeah, I want to see what's up with the MVP, man. I mean, I want to see is it been that good or the defense not that good or, you know, what is it?
You want the
You know,
steal.
I love to see what that MVP is looking like. The Giants look tough. Ravens look tough. There's a couple teams. Texans look pretty decent with 9-4. I mean, Philly. I played Philly.
Hey, have you played Reggie?
Reggie is who?
Big Reggie. Officer Reggie. He's Houston Texans.
No, I didn't play the Texans. Nope.
Reggie, I think, will be a nice competitor. And that's one thing I really do.
I owe the Bears and I owe the Chargers one, so I'm writing them down on my list, so I gotta get that back. I need them get them 2 losses back.
That's one thing about our league, especially League One. League Two has that potential too, but League One especially, there are good players spread out everywhere. So it's not like one of them leagues where you get in where there's only like 2 or 3 top guys and that's that. Pretty much, like you said, week in and week out, it's kind of a tough battle. And like you said, records don't necessarily tell the story. You look at Jimmy, Kansas City, 7-7, but you played him, so you know what he's working with and what he's bringing to the table.
When I played him, he was like 5-6. I'm like, I should win this. And next time I was down so fast. I was like, oh, wait a minute. That record lies to me.
Yeah, it does. Well, especially the first season. And I said this out the gates. I mean, I'm coming off a Super Bowl appearance against Candy, and I got a losing record. I'm 6-8. But I tell people all the time, and you roll about me thinking, oh, do 6-8, you have a problem. But especially in that first season, just simply due to the fact that people are still, right now, people have kind of really got the game down. But it takes a while. Especially, there's been such a drastic change from 12 gameplay to 13. Noli. You look at Noli, I think Noli's 4-10. I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to tell you right now, Noli is sick. Noli is nice with his game. But if you look at him at 4-10, you think, not really. Noli's a powerhouse. But a lot of guys got caught up in that transition from 12 to 13, me being one of them. To where guys are hitting their stride late in the season, but it's kind of too little too late. So season 2 to me is where you're going to kind of start to separate and see the men from the boys.
Yeah. Especially with a lot of people having like 4 or 5 draft picks on the top of the stack. He's going to be tough. He has Fitzgerald. He has Roddy White, and he has like 5 draft picks. So, you know, he's in my division, so I know I got to watch out for him.
You hit that head. Billy Mack, you're right. I said this week, I think he's like 1-12 or something like that. But I'm going to tell you what, anybody that played in the league with him last year knew the dude was a playoff caliber team, a playoff team, and he wasn't no joke. Season 1, a lot of people got off the slow start. I'm really more looking at what's going on in season 2, where people kind of have their stride down, their schemes down, their playbook, they're comfortable with it. They've had a go round, they've sized up and played people. Season 2 and season 3 to me is where you're going to start to see separation in terms of, that's an elite player in our league. Right now, I think it's still kind of in the air.
Yeah. Because when I first took over the Panthers, I lost my first 2 games. I just couldn't even adjust to the players that he had. So after I had a couple of deals, I got him built how I wanted to build. I've been having success. I mean, I don't have no big names other than 2 good running backs and all our receivers. They're all rated like high 70s, low 80s. I mean, they're nobody on the top receiver list. They just catch the ball. They just do what I need them to do.
I tell you what, at the end of the day, we can talk MVPs and all that other stuff. At the end of the day, if he gets bounced in the first round, you win the Super Bowl, does it really matter that he had the MVP? So I agree with you 100%. I don't necessarily need the big names. You know what I'm saying? If it's there and I can get them, I'm going to take them. I mean, I was able to, through trades, my line's still quiet through Will Reeves. I was able to acquire Jason Pierre-Paul. I was able to acquire Charles Godfrey from the Panthers. I was able to acquire John Beeson from the Panthers. If the guys out there and I can get them, I'm going to get them. But my sole intention when I trade is not, I got to have the best name guy out there. It's just like you. I need a guy who fits what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that's it. You do what I need you to do. Do your job, as the Saints coach says. Do your job. That's it.
Yeah, I didn't want to I didn't want to give the old Panthers on one of my linebackers that you got. I really liked him, but he wouldn't resign with my team. And I didn't even have the option to negotiate with him no more. So I knew if I didn't make a trade and get rid of him, I was going to lose him possibly in the offseason. So that's how the whole Carolina trade with the old Carolina on the table about my damn linebacker, Justin, I just went blank.
Justin Durant, right?
Yeah. I love Durant.
He's doing wonders. Thank you.
It's like I said, trust me, man. I was hot, but it was like, I trust me, man. I did not want to get rid of that dude. I was like, man, this dude is nice. But it was one of the things where I negotiated with him twice. He wouldn't resign. I negotiated with him the third time. He wouldn't resign. And the fourth time when I tried to negotiate with him, was like, yo, you can't negotiate with him no more. He's done. So I'm like, okay, if he's going to leave, it's like any other NFL GM. It's like, I got to get something for him. I just can't let the dude ride.
But
I hated seeing him go because I'm like, Durant's a beast.
Right.
Ty,
I mean, I gave him my
got a question.
I gave him up.
You got a call already?
Yeah, no, I got a question for both of you. What is your thoughts about next season, the trading committee?
You want to go start first there, Gabe?
Yeah, I'll go first. I don't see nothing opposed to it. I mean, if the two owners agree to it, and then, three random, the commissioner, he picks two other people, and they, vote, and they make sure it's fair, I'm fine with it, man. I mean, there are some one-sided deals, only because people, come into the league so fast, and they jump out so fast due to rule violations and things like that, so me personally, it doesn't matter. I mean, because you have the star talent on the team, that don't mean you won't win the game, so.
And me personally, I'm in favor of the trade committee. I mean, I was looking at Trevor's comments in the shout, and I know where he's coming from. You got a bunch of veteran dudes in the league. You got a bunch of grown men who feel like I don't need somebody to babysit in terms of making this trade. At the same time, we don't know a lot of people's football knowledge and wherewithal. And there's a lot of foolish trades out there that we've seen made last year and this year. There's a lot of people, like, no offense, but Lohan Dragon, the dude who had the Vikings who got kicked in League One, and he had the Jets in League Two, and he cut and dropped, what's his name, Antoine Winfield. I mean, when you're dealing with people like that, the league is all about opportunity and making a team better, and I get and understand that. But as people involved in the committee of the league, wanting the league to succeed and survive, we don't want to see teams get and destroyed. So unfortunately, even though we're all grown men, I don't have a problem with the fact that if you think you're making a legit trade, what's the big deal with that going through a committee? Unless you feel like, hey, I'm doing some shading under the table and I don't want nobody to regulate it, then you should have a problem with it. But if your trade is legitimate, why do you care that it's three people who've got to approve it?
Right.
I mean, it's for the league. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be that way, but I think it has to be that way. So what do you think about it, Reggie? Reggie?
I think it's a good idea. It would help. It would, like, there's a lot of trade this year that, what was the trade? I forgot which trade was it. Quarterback trade. You know what I'm talking about. Spud. What was the trade again? I think it was a Tom Brady trade. That was a really bad trade. And if there was a committee for that, that shit would never happen.
Hey, you know what? I got a breaking text. My boy Lockdown. Lockdown 100 is a good friend of mine, and he's somebody who, as long as I've been online playing Madden, I've been playing against him. We played tournaments together online. We played leagues together, C4 online. Lockdown 100 was the owner of the Carolina Panthers before you, Gates, and he just texted me and he wanted me to let you know that he's glad that the team got turned over to somebody like you. This kept him up to par, and he wanted you to know that he built the team the same way you did. He didn't care about the big names, and he wasn't worried about being flashy and to show. His whole idea was to put solid pieces and players in that he did the job done. Guys with good catching track. So he just texted me and said he wanted me to let you know, A, he's glad you have the same philosophy, and B, that he's glad you're taking care of his squad.
Oh, Tony, thank you. I'm trying to get him a ring. Here's what I would try to get him a ring.
hey, exactly. Y'all get a ring, exactly. Hey, I'll tell you what, if you ever jump in the chat, Mark, and you look, there's a guy called Man You Know Me. It's all jumbled in the one word. That's the old Panthers on the lockdown. That's him. So you jump in the chat, you see Man You Know Me, that's him.
Okay.
I told him the other day, too, I said, hey, at least, because it does suck if you're him. He loved the league, and he wanted to stay and play and participate, but he's got a wife that's due any minute, and he's already in another league, and just the demands, and he also goes to school and works. So the demands of trying to play both leagues, take care of the wife, go to work and go to school is too much, but he still actively monitors those passes. He took a lot of pride in the squad, so he's glad holding it down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, if he wanted to come back, I mean, we could talk about it. If he gets another team, and he might want Carolina back, depending on how far Cam takes me. I might give him back. Maybe. Maybe.
I hear you. But if we don't have any more callers
I got a
on,
quick question. Sorry, if you don't mind, I have a quick question. How y'all feel about the fourth down rule and the whole thing with that? I know there's been a lot of people talking about it. When to go for it, when not to go for it, things like that.
We got a can of worms right now. Well, Reggie, what you got, man?
I'll let you go first.
Oh, man. The fourth down rule is tough because there's a lot of gray area in it. I'm in another league, C4, and it's kind of Wild Wild West. You can do what you want, how you want, whenever you want. And their theory behind that is, hey, it's up to you to make the stop. I agree with that, but I like the fact that our league's a little bit more structured, and it's not the Wild Wild West, and it's some semblance of real football. At the same time, we really need to tweak the rule to make it more situational, because there's a lot of common sense calls on fourth down that people should be allowed to make that they can't make right now. The call with Ike and the whole Buffalo Seattle thing, everyone knows what happens, and for those that don't know what happened, it was a 17-17 ball game. Late in the fourth quarter, Buffalo was in their own end of the field with maybe 2 or 3 minutes left in the game in a tied game. It was 4th and 3. Now the rule states it has to be 4th and 1, and you have to be on your opponent's side of the field. Now Buffalo went for it, and as a result of that, wound up going on to win the game. There was a lot of controversy because Buffalo broke the rule. Now, while I'm in favor of enforcing the rule, and I understand that, that's a common sense situation that he should have been allowed to decide what he wanted to do because his game was on the line. So I think it's good that there's some measure in place to try to basically have law and order and not have it be the Wild Wild West or basically an online writing game. At the same time, during the off season, the committee needs to look at this and they need to amend it to fit common sense situations. That's my take on it.
Hold on. How was it the game was on the line? It was 4th down. He could have punted, and there was 2 minutes left. And if it was real football, like NFL football, they would punt the ball. So
okay, let me tell you how the game was on the line. But it's not real football. It's Madden. And we all know there are certain players. Let's use Philly in Canada. Let's use you, Reggie. Hell, you do it to me all the time.
Hold on, man. Okay, hold up.
Let me finish. Let me finish. It's not the NFL. There's 2 minutes left in the game, and I'll punt the ball to you, and you're able to chew up the clock with these little candy-ass dink and dunk plays. You're able to rush the ball for 3 or 4 yards of the clip, and I feel I might not get the ball back, and I feel on defense I might not be able to stop you, and you're able to eat up the rest of the 2-3 minutes left in the quarter and kick a field goal and win. As far as I'm concerned, in my mind, that's my last possession of the game. So to me, the game could be considered on the line. That could be my last possession of the game. I should have the right to decide I want to go for it. If I don't go for it, if I do go for it and lose, then I only have me to blame. And I'm good with that. The last thing I want to do is punt the ball off to you or to Philly to see you eat the ball up for the last 3 minutes, and I didn't get the ball back and I lost.
Not on your. Come on, there's 2 minutes left on your side of the field. Nah, anybody with common sense would just punt the ball.
Not necessarily.
Ty, you would do it. You would do it. You would punt the ball. You would at least let your defense.
Yes, I would. But what? It's not about what I would do. It's about what owners of their teams have the right to do. Some people are not as comfortable playing defense. I would punt the ball because I'm comfortable. I can go ahead and make something happen on defense. But there's certain games. Look, I don't know about you guys. I played in a lot of good leagues and tournaments and online and all that good crap. And there are times when I face people where I can't stop them. I can't get a stop. So if I'm playing somebody like that, and I feel like they're shredding me. Say it's a 51-45 game, but they scored every single time they got the ball. I know when I put the ball off, it's unlikely I'm going to get that stop. So maybe my only mindset in that scenario is I got to score here some kind of, because I can't stop it when he gets the ball back. It's already 51-45. He scores, which he scores me every time he's got the ball. Not 58-45. Game is over. I should have that option. What I think that the fourth down rule is missing is that I think it's bailing out a lot of people who don't want to play defense, who feel they can't play defense, or who can't get a stop. Everyone wants to sit there and prop themselves up and crush themselves up on that rule and just bank on the fact that you got to punt it, as opposed to hunkering down. That's the part that's not being addressed. Why are people so afraid to play defense? You've done it for the other 3 downs. What about that?
Well, like I said, the rules are the rules. If you're on your side, you punt the ball. Those are the rules. I played you, Tide, and you remember, you thought I broke the rule, but I told you the rule states if I'm on your side of the field, in which it was 4th down, and I believe it was, 1, and I went for it, that's not breaking the rules. If it was 4th down and, let's say, 4th down and 3, and I was on your side, I would kick a field goal. But what my man did, it was kind of, he straight up broke the rules. But I'm not gonna finger point because there's other people that are breaking the rules but are getting away with it. So
okay, but let's look at what you asked or what the question was. The question wasn't what we thought about that particular situation. The question was, what do we think about the 4th down rule? It wasn't what do we think about that particular situation. And I'm telling you, to the 4th down rule, I'm okay with there being a 4th down rule in place, but I also think it needs to be amended to pertain to common sense situations. That's what I'm saying. What do you have to say about all of this?
You shouldn't, because you're playing with it. If you say common sense, okay, we're putting a rule, a 4th down rule with common sense, then now what is common sense? Some people out there are idiots. So they're gonna say, well, it was. It should only be no common sense. It's 4th down. On your side, you punt. On the other side, you could go for it in whatever situation. Now, you can't play with the rules, and I think the rules that Philly put is perfectly fine. You're breaking it. If you break it, then there should be consequences.
Well, and it's not just the rules. Here's a perfect example of what I'm looking at. And Spud suggested this, and I agree with it. He suggested this when we shot this amongst each other on the committee. In the 4th quarter, you should be able to do whatever you want to do. Look, I get in the 1st quarter, when you're on your 20-yard line, you shouldn't be going for it on 4th down. That's ridiculous. In the 4th quarter, you should have the autonomy to run your team the way you want to. And you should live and die based off your decisions. And if his decision was to go for it in a 17-17 game with 2 or 3 minutes left, and he failed to move the ball, guess what? Nobody's got the ball on his 29-yard line. He can kneel on the ball 3 times in a row and kick a field goal, and it's game over. But Buffalo should have had the right to make that decision. I don't think that's playing with the rule. I think that's a common sense game situation. By the time the 4th quarter of any game rolls around, you know where your team is not at. You know your situation. You know you're down a distance. You understand the gravity of the game. You should be able to make that decision. So if it's 4th and 2, I shouldn't be able to go for it because it's not 4th and 1 and the game's on the line? That's ridiculous. Make a stop. Why are we so afraid to play defense on fourth down? Why are we looking for a welfare Obamacare hand-me-down because we can't play defense? When you play online ranked, if you played in a tournament, a real tournament, where you went out to GameStop or someplace, you ain't going to get bailed out by fourth down. Well, play damn defense, take the training wheels off, take the pit out your mouth and play some damn defense. Stop being scared. If you're scared, go to church. That's my take.
But, you know, we got rules. You can't be breaking rules. We got rules, Ties.
But Reggie, you're missing the point again. You're confusing two different things.
I'm not confusing. I understand. We got rules. Did my man break the rules? Yes. Should we reevaluate it? Why? Because it's been working for it's been 3 seasons, 3 years that it's been the same rules. Madden Men, and NBL. And the NBL this year again. So why are we going back again? It's like kicking field goals. You know, you can't do a sweep kick. Why?
Okay, but you still keep missing the point. You asked the question, what do I think of the rule? But you keep trying to make this about that Buffalo-Seattle instance with Nolan IT. I don't care about that instance. I'm giving you my opinion on you asking me what do I think about the fourth down rule. Now, what we haven't heard from is Gates. Gates, what do you think about the fourth down rule?
I think, like you said, it's a lot of gray area. Only because of the, depending on situation. First, let's just address the rule. Period. The rule is correct me if I'm wrong. 4th and 1. The only time you can go for it is when you're on the opponent's field, side of his field, and it's 4th and 1 and less, right?
Yes. Now there's an addendum to it. Typically, the person going for it has to be losing.
See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Hey, so it's like I'm limited because I'm winning. When you run it, when you're free to do whatever you want, basically. It's either it's the rule and that's the rule, or we're gonna put it in certain situations, or what are we doing? I mean, you made valid points where fourth quarter you should be able to run your team the way you want. I just want it to be just straight across the board. Whether if that's the rule, 4th and 1, fourth, you're on the other side of your opponent's field, and it's 4th and 1, you decide whether you're winning, losing. I mean, just make it general, like a straight rule. There's so many. I mean, it gets to a point in the game where it's like, okay, it's 4th down, I'm on his field block. I goes, I punt, I gotta text the person like, punt it, kick it. It's just crazy. It's like I pause me like, dude, you gonna punt it? You gonna kick it? What we doing? And we both so skipped, we're both so timid to play our offense versus D. It's just difficult. So personally, I see both valid sides. I just want to be straight across the board. If that's what it is, then that's what it is. Whether it's first quarter, whether it's fourth quarter, just make one rule.
And I'm good with that. And I do see Reggie's point. I just think that me and Reggie wasn't seeing what I was saying. I didn't necessarily care about
you're basing yours. You're basing yours off situations. I mean, which I agree. Like when the Falcons played the Giants and Mike Smith went forward on 4th and 1, and they ran that busted draw, I was pissed. I mean, that's the game situation, and they were on their own side of the field. You know what I mean? And that's just using a real NFL reference versus Madden one.
Mike Smith went for it against New Orleans, and they was on their side of the field. See, that's another thing that's tough, because a lot of people's tension is to fall back on, well, in the NFL, they do this, and in the NFL, they do that. You know what? Well, if you want to go by what they do in the NFL, then let's outlaw and ban Fab D right here, right now. Because I want anybody to tell me any one time in the NFL's 100-year history where you've seen 11 dudes drop back in coverage on a play and one person past the rusher. If you want to go based off what they do in the NFL, then Fab D needs to be banned right now. I don't hear nobody calling for that to be banned. See, people can't be hypocritical and say, well, they don't do this in the NFL. But then sometimes it's okay. Nobody plays Fab D in the NFL. Hell, they don't do it on Hail Marys. On a Hail Mary, you don't see 11 dudes drop back in coverage. Why is it okay that we do it in this league then? So let's not use what they do in the NFL is groundbreaking precedent for what we can and can't do.
That's a valid point. I mean, that's definitely a valid point. I wish other owners would speak and voice their opinion. It's just, like I said, is it going to be straight across the board, or are we going to have situations? You know, I'd rather just be straight across. If that's the rule, what's, you know, the rule from the first quarter to the fourth quarter? So that way, you only have to worry about the he broke the rule versus he didn't break the rule. Like you say, man up, play D, or we use their third, you know, we play 3 tough downs of defense. One or the other.
And you hit that right on the head. And just to clarify, because I just want to make sure I'm understood. I'm for the fourth down rule, and I'm for first, second, and third quarters understanding that rule and adhering to it. What I'm stating is that when you get into the fourth quarter and you start getting into win and lose situations, if it's 4th and 10, and I'm on my 40, which is technically not in your territory, and I'm losing that game, and I'm feeling as if that may be my last possession of the game, I should at least have that option. If I don't have that option, then I might as well quit the game at that point and concede the victory.
Yeah, I mean, so would you rather be first 3 quarters, fourth down rule, fourth quarter, it's on you?
Yeah, but honestly, you know what, it is one of those things to where I really honestly, to be honest with you, Mark, have to sit down and look and factor in all the situations, because like that's why I said it's no one's right or wrong in this argument. Even though I'm arguing passionately, no one's right or wrong, because what if I'm down 28 points at the end of the damn at the end of the half? So I get the ball back first. Right? I'm down 28 points. I got 2 quarters to play. I get the ball back first, and I score on that first possession. Now I'm down 21. So, like, there's so many situations that you can actually say, well, I need to go for it, I don't need to go for it. It's hard. So the committee and all the members of the league, we really have to sit down and look at this and break down all of the possible scenarios and decide what's actually sound and what makes common sense and what doesn't. And yeah, Reggie is right. As funny as it sounds, everybody doesn't have common sense, and no, I'm not insulting nobody. But what's common sense to me and what's common sense to Reggie are 2 different things. So it's tough to find a happy medium for everybody. My whole thing is I think we should look at it in the off season. We shouldn't change anything now, but we should look at it in the off season, because in that one particular situation, that's a game-defining moment, whether you do or don't go for it in that Buffalo-Seattle game. You know? He went for it, he ended up winning the game because of it. Maybe if he punted, he loses that game. Now, at the end of the day, he broke the rule, and he should be penalized. Now, after the fact that we've already established he broke that rule, and there's a penalty for him to pay, going forward looking at that rule, that's something we need to look at. That's all I'm saying.
So as far as what should be the punishment?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, no, I'm saying that's what you're saying.
No. What I'm saying is, I'm not justifying his actions. 2 guys don't make a wrong. He broke the rule, so he should be penalized. That's one discussion. There's no debate for me on that. He should pay a price. Now that we've already established he broke the rule, he's going to pay a penalty for it. Once we get past that part, now the gray area that I would like to see up for review next season is, in that actual scenario, should he have had the right? That's what I'm arguing. I'm not arguing that he broke the rule or didn't. He did, and he should pay for it. I'm arguing that he should have had that opportunity, and that's something we need to look at for season 2.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's tough, like you said. If he had a punted, he had won that game. You know, that's tough. So that's what I'm saying. So when you say and you go mention situations, there's so many different situations. It's like, okay, here's the fourth down rule, except if it's this. I mean, you would have to almost list every possible situation.
And you're right. Look, honestly, to tell you the truth, no one rule we come up with is going to be able to address every situation.
Right.
That's the honest truth. All we can try to do is shoot for something that takes into account most of these situations, but no one rule is going to address every single situation. So it kind of will always continue to be somewhat of a gray area. So all we can do is the best we can to make a level player playing field for everybody to the best of our ability.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Should it? I mean, with that, you know, with you touching that point, it should just be whether first quarter, fourth quarter. If it ain't 4th and 1, and you're not on your opponent's side of the field, punt it. If that's what the rule is, then that's what the rule is. If it's Wild Wild West in the fourth quarter, then that's what it is. I mean, just so we all know, we all playing it, it's a level playing field. We all understand what it is.
No, you're 100% right. That's something like that I'd have to sit down and kind of look at along with everybody else in the committee. It's not something I can really answer right now because there's so many situations I'm probably not going to be able to account for right now in the spur of the moment that I'm going to miss. But this was a great conversation, and I thank Reggie for bringing it up because it brought up a good back and forth give and take. But at this time, the show's probably been going for about an hour and a half now, so I don't want to make it too long to where people don't want to listen because it's a 2-hour show. So I'm pretty much not going to have any final comments. I'm not going to pick any NFL games. I'm going to root for my Giants to kick the Steelers' teeth down their throat. I'm going to give everybody on the East Coast, including all my family and relatives in New York and New Jersey, they're going to be in my prayers, and I'm going to wish them a speedy recovery, after Hurricane Sandy's damage. And I'm going to open up the floor to Mr. Mark Gates for a final comment or any final things he wants to say, and Reggie, and we're going to wrap this puppy up.
Oh, no, man. Just thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate everybody inviting me into the league. I'm not hard to find, man. Send me a message. We can get it in anytime. Candyman, I'll see you in the playoffs. Chargers, I'll see you in the Super Bowl, man. I'm gone.
Mark, what's your PSN? So if somebody wants to play in the live game or get at you and shoot you a message, they could?
Yeah, man, I got my numbers on the site, my email, my game name is Mark Gates. I mean, I'm not hard to find.
All right. So you heard it here first, Candyman 2010. So, and I know he's listening. If he loves the show, he's listening. So I'm pretty sure we're hearing something from this. And I'm surprised Koofy didn't call him. Reggie, you got anything you want to add before we get out of Dodge?
The only thing I need to say is, if anybody knows how to get a reach of the Colts owner, tell him I'm looking for him because I want to get my game in.
That's what his Debo show. When I put him, Reggie, I think I got a hold of him. He's not active on the site, but I think when I text him, he responded right away. Did you text him?
I texted him a few times. I just texted him, and I'm about to call his ass. So, that's why they call me Officer Reggie. I'm going to call his ass right now.
Well, good luck with getting your game in. I look forward to seeing your stream. And basically, guys, thanks for coming on the show, Mark. Reggie, thanks for putting it together. This was Coach Ty's Corner, episode 8, week 8. And if you would like to call in or speak on the show, we can do this again next week. The number will be out public, and we look forward to your input. So everybody take it easy. Have a good Madden week, and we'll see you next weekend. I'm out.